know where Mskindness is yet, but I think that it bears us at least saying for the people who are here in the room with me, what this room is for today. This is definitely a Bridges conversation, a daring conversation. Bridges is a platform that focuses on race, equity, and inclusion. And how do we have the conversations that we know are difficult? How do we start them? And we are hopeful that we're giving conversation starters that people can take with them and continue to learn and build bridges in their own communities and in their own personal relationships with those outside of their tribe, maybe opening up those tribal doors and letting more folks in, anything that will cause us to come together in a more unified sense. Bridges is also a series of videos and these events that we have done. It will also be live and popping through your television screens through CK Television, available on Roku, around the world, Apple TV, the whole 9 yards. And Miss Kindness will be able to speak more to that, as she is the founder and CEO of Club Kindness Television. So she will be definitely talking more about that. But I'm always bursting at the seams because we're just so happy that these conversations get to go to more people. It's very, very exciting. So we're very, very happy about that. And those of who are here who do not know me, I am Tiffany Watkins. I am the founder and the CEO of Vanguard Media Online. It is a platform, a magazine, an event space, and a movement for women in cannabis. I am all things cannabis and I'm all things inclusive. And I've just always noticed in my time in cannabis, which has been over 30 years, that women just do not get what we deserve in the cannabis space. Everything I've learned about cannabis and healing, in my not just my medical path, but my spiritual and psychological path, has been from women who came before me. And I think that it is a valuable space that is not utilized at all. And this industry that we've made from our community is not inclusive to us. And we need to do everything that we can to change that. So that is what Vanguard does, is we do our part in hopes to partner with anyone else doing their part in order to bring a voice to women in this wonderful community. So I super thank you guys for being here with us today. So specifically our topic, going along with the birthday bash and talking about 5 years in business, our main purpose today is to talk about how do we sustain ourselves in business as persons of color? What is that experience like? How is it similar and how is it different than those who are not of color? And so I think that I would begin the conversation with everything that could be taken for granted as an operator in the cannabis space, or otherwise, maybe it's an ancillary company that you have. Everything that can be taken for granted in the space for a person who is not of color is something that is a challenge for a person who is of color. Something that you may take for granted is just being able to partner with or start conversations that could lead to partnerships. Starting those conversations, people being open and taking your business seriously right out of the gate. That may be something that maybe someone who doesn't share my skin color might feel is, they're like, hey, I can talk to anyone and anyone will talk back. That's not always the case. So it makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes. These types of challenges don't necessarily hold someone back if they're tenacious, but it can be a little, crushing. Imagine not being taken seriously, and not just because you're a woman, but because you're a woman of color, or you see something as very poignant. Maybe it needs to be discussed further, and it's, you're a little angry, you're a little aggressive. And because we are, as Black women, likely to be called aggressive before, say, a white woman. Whereas, of course, being women in general, we know they're going to say we're hysterical. We're going to say they're going to have something to say. But the experience as a person of color is just generally not being, taken seriously right out of the gate. So that is one, large difference that I have noticed. It is definitely something to overcome, but it is not the end all be all. We wind up getting our points across. I'm going to pause here really quickly because I just want to go and check the session link really quick to see. I see people coming in, but I want to see if I can find Mskindness. So if everyone will just give me a moment, I will be right back. Why don't I do this? If anyone else would like to join me up here on screen, along with Laura, we can open up some topics. We can listen. Is anybody in the audience who's an operator or someone who's working on a business that would like to talk about longevity in business? I talked about a hurdle, but I'd love to dive in deeper to some of the topics of staying strong in business as a person of color. So and Takesha, hi. Hi there. What business do you run, or do you run a business?
Yes, actually, I started June of 2021, and I'm a cannabis health coach. And so I started my, I would say, practice last year. So I'm pretty much like 6 months in, and yeah, so that's my concern, of course, longevity. And also, I'm in the state of Connecticut where they are, they just went recreational, adult use. And so I make products, and the key is to, or what I want to do is get the social equity license to be able to produce. And but it seems like there's a lot of barriers even to get into the lottery. So they want you to already be set up with capital, obviously. And it's like, well, investors are willing to invest, but they want to make sure that you have the license first. So it's like right now we're just dealing with legislation and kind of having them tweak the rules first before um, the lottery happens in May. Like they're doing it, I guess, in succession. They'll open up a few and things like that. But of course, they want to give access to those who have been affected by the war on drugs and incarceration and things like that. And so that's where I'm at right now, where of course, the coaching practice is great, and I don't have to touch the plant. But what I'm really great at is, producing products and now infusing cannabis in it. And I guess I can do it with hemp, obviously, but I would like to be able to do it with THC as well, because that's what the people they say you want to give people what you think they need, but everyone keeps asking me about where's your products. So that's really my frustration right now, is just being able to acquire the license to be able to do what it is I'm great at. But if not, then I'll just continue to teaching others and teach other people how to create their own infusions at this point. So that's where I'm at right now.
Right. No, and congratulations on the success that you've had, because I know that the hurdles definitely get in the way. Financial hurdles are a major part of longevity of a business, and as a person of color in operation, we don't get the same chance. We don't get the same financial treatment. Historical and systemic racism lives strongly in the banking industry.
Yes.
There are many counts, there are many stories, there's a lot of documentation of direct financial discrimination.
Yes.
And we fight that all the time, when they talk about the safe banking bill. And I'm working on a project right now with several other people that is adamant that safe banking must include social equity language and restorative justice language.
Yes. Yes.
Because when you want to operate in this industry, people ask for money. They want you to have financial connections. Well, if we can't build financial connections because of that racism, then we're already up against it to even try to have the conversation. So we're definitely rooting for you. And yeah, wherever we can help, connect. Wherever we can help, we will rally for you.
I definitely follow you ladies on social media. I mean, I found you through Tokeativity. So, and it was just refreshing because, listen, I'm in Connecticut. There's one other woman, Black woman who started her certifying business. I think she was an APRN and started to certify us. And so that's how I got involved. I became certified through her practice, and then, grew into advocacy and then into coaching. But she's the only one here, and she's been, advocating obviously for the legalization here and doing that work. So I finally was able to connect with her in person. But yeah, I'm following you ladies and just kind of seeing how to move in the space, especially on social media, because a lot of things you get banned. So I want to be mindful of what I'm putting out, but I want to help my friends and other people in the community, especially BIPOC, to see that it doesn't matter where we're from or where we're at. We can still create a space and create a lane using the skills that we already have. And in this industry that's opening up. And I mean, I'm a disabled mom, stay at home, I homeschool. Fixed income. So I'm doing all of this, like you said, without the coin, without the bank, without family members investing, because obviously it's cannabis. And, I grew up in New York City during the heavy 1980s, and my family fell into substance abuse. So they're just like, just say no, the whole time. So for me to be involved in advocating for it, I don't get that much support. It's like, oh, well, great, you're doing, keep doing your thing, but I'm not giving you no money. So, so this is, we definitely have a lot of things against us, but, I just keep going. That's it, And so I appreciate the time and the advice.
Certainly. Mskindness, hello.
Hi.
We were
Hi.
missing.
I'm so
I even
sorry.
popped out of here to go look for you.
Listen, I got stuck. I was listening to Kira talk on the main stage, and I just was I was just zeroing in on, and time just flew by, and I know our room started. It doesn't matter. I'm here
It doesn't.
now. I'm
You're here
grateful.
now.
I popped in right at the right time. And Takesha, I just wanted to say hello and thank you for being here. And you got the last thing you said about your family and not going to them to fundraise initially because of their lived experiences and their adverse reaction cannabis or weed, because they just associate it with all the drugs, right?
Right.
We that is so closely tied to, actually significantly tied to, their lack of education. So when
Yeah.
you talked about, if I can't get my license yet, if I have to bring them CBD first to ease into product, to deliver something before I can deliver what I really want, if nothing else, I'm going to continue educating. That's me. I'm an educator. It's what I do. I stay in my lane. I continue to
Yes.
teach people by constructing ideas. I too come from a family, same thing in LA on this side of the U.S. 80s baby, same experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But I just continue to push. And I'm going to tell you something. The first investors should be your family, because
Right.
this is our opportunity for health equity, right? For some form of reparations that we can claim on our own. So I just want to push back with encouragement for you
Thank
to
you.
continue to educate your family so that some of them can be your first investors if they're ready.
Thank you. Thank
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
I will.
And that's
It's a lot of work.
I love that you brought up the word reparations, because that is another challenge for businesses and their longevity. The part that I began the conversation on, being taken seriously. The other side of that is always being looked upon as if you have your hand out for something to be given to you rather than that you're willing to work for it. And it's sad to think, and many people don't believe, but they see a black face and they think, oh, what do you want from me? Instead of how can we work together, or what are our synergies? That is a hurdle that we have to definitely jump over, if not make a giant step. And it can affect the longevity of your business if you run into too much of that type of treatment. And it is out there. Not everyone is inclusive. Not everyone understands. So we do hope with these conversations that people are listening and can understand that these types of treatments happen. They may not happen to us, that we might not be the face, the three faces, not to exclude you, Laura. I know that you're here and listening. We might not be the three faces that represent those who've been treated like that, but it's happening. And so people who are looking at this to learn more about how they can support comes in championing other people that you see, women of color, and saying and going, this business is legitimate. This business deserves help. This business deserves your ear. At least listen, because the more we can do that, we can kind of strike that away, where people go, when they hear about business, it's business first. It's not, well, who's the face behind that business?
Right.
What's the gender behind that business?
Yes,
You know,
we're all
sort of victims. I hate that word, but we're subject to, or victims of, the structural inequity, this system that we're now a part of. And I think when we look at, like, how do we mitigate the effects of those inequities, we have to first understand that they exist. And so with Bridges, we're communicating with an audience that is unlearned, that is coming because they have questions, they don't know. And Tiffany and I get to lead these powerful conversations. But in the case of thinking about how we specifically sustain BIPOC businesses, we have to look at what the inequities are and how they came to be, right? They came to be from these systemic, racial, racist structures that created a giant $1.5 trillion wealth gap between Blacks and whites. So now that's what exists, right? Things like, I took some notes, y'all, that only 1 in 20 Black people hold equity in businesses. Now there's 4 times the rate of that of white businesses. So this is an inequity that exists. If we want to tackle that and we want to sustain BIPOC businesses, we have to fight it with the same fervor that was implemented in its induction. As in, like, specifically all policies, and you alluded to this, Tiffany, with the Safe Banking Act. Any new policies must have equity at the forefront. They must lead with equity intentions. Any new laws that go on the books, anytime you start a new business, consider in your business infrastructure, your policies, are you leading with equity and anti-racist ideology and ideation in I think we shouldn't even be having conversations at this point about growing and sustaining without constantly leading the conversation with how we got here and the inequities, and how do we even out? How do we balance out? I don't know. Cannabis is that, right? It's like the great balancer of our endocannabinoid system and all of the things in our circulatory system and our mood, and even it does everything we need it to, right? If we know that about cannabis. I feel like we're perfectly poised to lead these conversations because of our connection to the plant. So I don't know. I came today like really thinking about this subject, Tiffany. It's kind of funny. It was ironic that I was like, I'm fired thinking about this dialogue today. And how did we get here? Like, I've been in cannabis since 2013, and EBK actively in the green since 2017. And how did I do that? From the community, from continuing to reach out, from having access to resources, with people that don't look like me all the time, from asking questions, making sure I got seen, and then holding the door open for other people that look like me. Like that needs to continue. And I'm nowhere near where I need to be, where I want to be, right? But I know I can't get there without continuing that same system of So I don't know. I'm really excited about this conversation and
No.
how
That's
we
it's
really,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
how can we effectively implement systems to change this? What does that look like?
Right, I agree. I mean, I think that that's the formula right there that you stated. You know, that's the formula for, and that's what I was explaining to my friends here. You know, that do consume, but people are still leery about it, and I understand, and I explained that on a panel that I participated in. That first the community has to be educated, and then also they have to feel safe in the space because of the history of being criminalized and penalized and punished and just communities destroyed. They don't trust that they can enter this industry, and so until the education has to be on the forefront, because they're discussing municipalities not wanting to have cannabis businesses. And I said that's because people don't they still hold the stigma, and not just the stigma of cannabis, but now you're giving equity, social equity, and you're letting other people go first. They still have the stigma against, BIPOC, and as well. And so I said that has to be, one of the first things that people do is get out here and educate. But also with equity, what they're requiring with the license is if if you don't have capital, obviously you have to give up equity to whoever is going to invest. So now is it really social equity? So that's the concern. Some people were saying that, is it going to really be fair? Are they truly going to be social equity licenses, or is it going to be people who have the capital with one person as the face to get this license? So I mean,
Well, that can happen. That can absolutely.
It is actively happening.
Yeah, there are practices that are very predatory, but I think, again, it comes back to us making sure that we educate our own people, that we are communicating, look out for this. Here's a great Black attorney I know. Here's a great woman of color who can work with you.
Right.
I've got the door open. So now let me connect you, because I want to make sure, I don't do what Nydia does. Nydia does some of what I do. We can share. And I know that I can pass people off to Nydia, and they're going to be safe with her.
Yes.
And so I think that's really what we're talking about. Like, not asking first we have to ask the question, are these practices and are these policies going to be fair? Then we need to educate ourselves on how to ensure that they are fair. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to break through that tradition that we live under in the United States. And that's the tradition of racism. It is a traditional act. It's the same as Christmas or Easter. We live with racism. We have to break through that. That is the way to do it, is because we build pathways. There might be a seat at a table that's mostly white, but it's a better seat when the table is Black. And when we build and build our own tables, and then we can pass to other people, like passing to Nydia or passing to Takesha, to whomever, then we start to break through that tradition. We have to create something else to be juxtaposed to what we live with here, because people just don't understand. It's been too long and we're still living the same way. It's traditional. Merry Christmas, you're a racist. And it's just way.
Take a minute and breathe that in. Racism is in the room. It hurt me when you said that. It hurt me deeply when you said that. I mean, did anybody else feel that?
It's so true. It's a tradition. When you have people raised with generations of thinking I'm lesser than, you're lesser than because the color of your skin, and they don't think anything of it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just is. Then that's a tradition. That's not newfangled. That's not, that's something passed along. And unfortunately, these things are passed along from all.
Am I gonna have to listen
races.
to that?
All.
Yeah, and it's and that's the fear also, because they're coming in and they're just like, we already have a lot stacked against us, and here you go, number one, you're Black,
there's that
number
cynic.
two, you're a woman, and now you're gonna add on cannabis. Like they're like, look, you're asking for it. I don't want any parts of it. And it's just like, but so I felt that, that resonated with me, your statement, because that's just how, that's how the
It
experience
feels.
is for
That's how it feels.
me.
Yes.
Nydia.
Ooh, that is Nydia. Thank you for being here. I also want to. I want to say hi to you, Laura. I see you up there. Our Canadian sister. I just wanted to say hello because I just came in the room hot.
Ashley too. I see you.
So I had a
Nydia,
question.
I saw you raising your hand, sis.
Yeah, I'm totally raising my hand because I got questions, because we can talk all day long, but there's a lot of people here that are plant touching and non-plant touching. And we're out here trying to figure out how to get EINs, and whether we're going to C Corp or S Corp or LLC or pay partnership or all of these things, right? And we're trying to navigate these waters. And then on top of that, we got to be marketers, and we got to be like email specialists, and you've got to have the Excel sheets and the, like, it's a lot. So my question is as you build these corporations, because a lot of us are building things that are legacies and generational wealth, we are creating that health equity. And so besides passing off, okay, I know this lawyer or this, and you can do this to publish or go this way to that person, how is it that we can build that infrastructure within the business to include that health equity payback from the ground up? That was my question and what I was here. And then the second thing I'm going to say is I'm about to drop one. I'm going to say 3 words: paper bag test. Y'all know what that was? So
Tell us about
I wouldn't have passed the paper bag test during the summer. Okay. In August, I would be told, no, you can't go to school because you're too dark. But in February or January, I'd be told, well, maybe. But guess what? You tested too dark back in August. So no. And that was the entrance examination for many higher learning institutions prior to integration. And even at historically Black colleges and universities here in the United States. So I thought that was important. And I think it's beautiful that we have that infrastructure now built so that we've overcome that in a way. I said that. But I'm really interested in because that's the process I'm in, right? I'm about to take on investors. I would like to get acquired for another business. And then I've got other businesses that I got to do after those businesses, because there's more businesses that the cannabis industry needs, right? And so as we're building these, because I know I'm not the only one that's building things from the ground up, how do we do that? And one way that I've found is I created a local mastermind group of women that are in cannabis in my area. And we meet every month. But there's also like Clubhouse and things like that. But yes, that's nice. But I want the meat and potatoes. You know what I mean? Like, you keep 53% of your equity at all times, and you better divide the rest of that equity up and figure your numbers out. That's the kind of stuff that I want in the meat and potatoes, so that we can carry that and say, okay, all right, oh shit, okay, 53%. All right, so what does that mean? Where do I get my numbers from? How do we move from there? Now I'll be quiet. Thank you.
You're speaking my language. You're speaking my language, Nydia. There's a couple of things I felt like you asked. One, how do we do it? And I'm going to assume without capital. Is that right? Like, how do we build our team
from the ground up? You got to do it when you got to do it. How you got to do it?
Yes.
Where you got to do it, right?
I would say that one of the things that I'm really passionate about is every single model I've built always included someone who was already close to me that I trusted with the skill, right? We all grew up. I think one of the things in cannabis that we are sometimes limited by is finding people who can align with us in a business around cannabis, because they have their own taboos and stigmas attached to cannabis. I was fortunate to have a social circle that didn't have those stigmas, but that included existing lawyers, existing doctors, existing teachers, existing marketing people. And I believe, in our circle around us, we all have that, right? We have access to people who do these things. They're friends we grew up with or whatever. That's where I will say that I started, because that's where I got the free advice. that's where I was able to ask my friend who got his master's in marketing, who I knew back when, a couple of questions that I got the answers to for free. Real talk, when I first started my business, I took a loan. And so now we're talking about access to capital. Do we have it? The systemic infrastructure that lends to lower FICO scores of Black and Brown. Why is that the case? Who can we align with? Where do we get that information? Frankly, the same places our white peers get it. The SBA, right? Local nonprofits, local groups. But we have, I will say, ancestral trauma that halts us from even taking those steps, from going and walking into those institutions, because we don't even believe that we are as credit worthy as our peers without knowing it. So I would say I kick that back to you, because I know what kind of work you do on the spirit. And that's our issue. It's the blocks, right? And believing in, because I'm going to tell you, I see our people who are absolutely underserved and marginalized and disproportionately treated in ways we know. But so it's the mind, right? It's the mind. And it's this generations and generations and generations of tradition that now has us believing we can't even walk into the SBA and talk about grant programs. Not the approval rate, the application rate is lower.
Yeah.
We're not even trying because we don't know, we don't believe. So I mean, I don't know. I kick it back to you in the room. Like, how do we heal that?
There is.
I don't know how to write a grant. Can somebody help me with that?
I can help you with that. I wrote grants for 8 years for large scale fundraising.
Thank you, sis.
Oh, wow.
I need help
Call
with
me.
that.
There you go. I think it really is this. It's asking open questions. And that is in our community is not an easy thing. We don't ask enough questions of each other to ask for that type of support. It is drummed into us again, the ancestral trauma that we don't know, or this is not for us, or this maybe is not going to work, or something that negates the experience that you could have. So I think that asking questions of your community at large and of your family to find out how far they made it. Oh, Uncle so-and-so was starting a business, and how far did they get? And then again, Mskindness, I think you hit the nail on the head. We've got smartphones. Start with a good old-fashioned Google search, because you can put yourself in front of resources very fast, and money can be an issue. So you might have to find out those who you can barter with. I think, Takesha, I saw you put in there, you can add value to someone in exchange for being mentored for 6 months. Value yourself and the knowledge that you already have, because that can be utilized in a bartering system. I give you, you give me. Thank you very much, and we're done. And that's not just advice for persons of color. That's advice for anybody who's got 2 ears on the side of their head. Value yourself, because what you have to say and the things that you work on and do that you think are mundane could be of great value to someone else, and you guys can trade on that. Not everybody has access to capital. It's hard for us all. It's harder for those who look like us with brown skin. It's harder, but many people struggle in that way. I mean, I learned to write business plans from the SBA. I found a class that cost me, I think, $150, and that was, 15 years ago. But I got to learn and be a part of a cohort that I got a lifetime of experience from that I can keep building upon. So you don't always have to spend everything to get those tidbits of business knowledge. You have to ask your network. And if your network gets funny with you, they are no longer a part of your network. Simple as that.
I want to say this too. Oh, here's my dog. He's excited too. That you're talking about mindset too, Tiffany. You spent to learn how to write a business plan, because the value of knowing how to write a business plan was worth it at an expense of your budget, right? So I think because we've been so underserved, we see opportunity. It's like fast money. I want to go to the money. So we think this trinket, and I'm going to sell this trinket, and I'm going to get this money. We don't think about, in the beginning, in the ideation phase, what does sustainability look like? How do I implement that can provide legacy wealth, right? That from the beginning. I will tell you, I thought about that because my family sold some property that I was like so devastated over them selling it, and it woke up something in me that we as Black people sometimes are so quick to be like, I'll just take the cash now, as opposed to invest this for the future. And so with our company, what we did was a pro-operative model where it was like cooperative at the leadership level, as in one voice, one vote. We all are sharing this much percentage. But as you come on, you can gain what's called patronage points. So you gain a part of the ownership. We go public, everybody wins. Look up the Starbucks model if you want to know what I'm talking about. That's what they did. When you first came on as an early adopter at Starbucks, you were getting membership points for your hours worked. People in those first 10 stores paid their way through college, bought houses with that money. Really think about, how do we build sustainable business? We have to think about that in the ideation. The very beginning. You can't think about it after the fact. It's not about selling a trinket and quick money. Not every time it's the same. That's just
right.
my opinion.
And I think
what do I know?
This is true. This is true. But I know for a lot of us that are creatives, that's not something, I went to school for entrepreneurship. And so of course that was there. But then at the same time, I'm a licensed cosmetologist. So, it was like, oh, open the shop. But then at the, am I going to be able to run the business part of it? Like, and still be the head stylist and have employees and all that. So now it's the same thing with this cannabis venture. It's okay, I'm the solopreneur. I'm doing, all the production, all the creation, all meeting with the clients, scheduling, doing all the marketing. And then at the same time, you have the administrative area where, all of the structuring and planning and stuff. And it is a lot. It is like you said, it is a lot. And then coming from a space where, maybe you weren't taught that. And so at the same time, learning that there's resources out there, for me, just having to be very resourceful from young, and tap into the resources that were in the community, learning about the SBA and certain things at the library and other, knownpreneur and co-working spaces and stuff like that. What it is important, it was important for me to really say, okay, I can do this.
That's
outside
it.
of
That's
just
it.
okay,
It's being courageous. It's saying to yourself,
Yeah.
like, I can do this, and I'm gonna go and invest this money in myself and in my, and yeah, it's making that choice. You're in New York, Takesha? In Connecticut.
I
Okay,
moved to
you're over there on the
Connecticut,
East Coast too, Nydia. There's another connection there.
That's a great connection.
That way.
Love it.
Thank you. I would love to hear from Ashley and Laura, Tiffany. I want to hear from, as we're talking about infrastructure and implementing policy and like how we do that from the ground up to ensure equity. What does that look like from an ally perspective as you all are building your businesses? How are you lending to the sustainability of your Black and brown siblings in the space?
Well, I, for one, the first thing I heard when I heard Takesha talking, the first person I thought of is like, oh, she should really talk to Nydia. And that's because I go on to Nydia's Clubhouse for her inspirational stuff in the morning. And there is a lot of amazing women who are in that space that can help you build something from the ground up, where it's not who you are, it's just your voice in the morning. And I think that she was the first person that I thought of, was like, oh, I'm gonna connect. I got somebody you should talk to. And that was the first thing that I could think of. So from an ally perspective, it's like, I just want to be able to connect people. And certainly with some, business sense, that, just to be able to help build a community. That's for me what I can do.
Let's go.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I agree with Mskindness. I like to hear other points of view. We've got a lot of people on the stage. Ashley, Jana, Mia. Let's hear points of view. If you feel on the spot, then you don't worry about it. But yes, let's hear from you.
I feel like it's all
Go ahead,
about
Ashley.
connection and togetherness. Okay, sorry, I'm in travel right now. I'm trying to participate in the event, but I really just feel like right here, right now, what we're doing and trying to gain a greater understanding from each other's struggles. Because at the end of the day, we are all one love, one heart, one community, and being women is so important to be able to have these events, to be able to connect. So I'm just happy to see the faces, to the names, and get to know you all, and just listen. So thank you. I know I myself when I do my sales with my brand, I'm like boots on the ground. I'm shaking hands. I'm meeting people. I'm getting their story. So I feel like just making that impact in my community and be able to connect the dots for what each of our gifts are and what we have to offer is just huge. So
Yes. Love that.
one heart.
Thank you, Ashley. That's awesome and 100% true. Getting out there and hearing stories and getting your brand in front of people and getting people to understand you and you get to understand them is a wonderful way for having longevity in your business. So kudos there.
I think
Jana,
to listen, right? To listen to people who are different than you, seeing them as they are, meeting them where they are, all of that. That's how we grow, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hi, Jana.
Hi.
You're unmuted. Can you hear us, Jana? I think there's a little delay. Oh, there you are.
So glad to be with you. Hi. Fun to talk with you on stage and see your faces and stuff. Is it hard to hear me?
I know you. I
think I'm just being
okay.
quiet. I've kind of been in my own space all day, and I didn't realize I'm maybe not speaking up. Is that better?
That's better. I want Jana. It is better. I think where there might be a little delay. I know you run.
I might be in the matrix. Yeah.
I think there's a delay. Yeah. I think there's a little delay.
Yeah.
There's
maybe a little delay.
Jana.
Tiffany, I really wanted to.
You're muted. You're muted out now, Jana. I cannot hear you. That's okay. I'm really super glad. If you can hear me, I'm going to say I'm very glad that you joined the conversation. And
I muted on purpose so that you wouldn't have to deal with my delay. If you want to hear and just give the moment on the delay. Yeah, I'm really grateful for what you said, Tiffany, about that traditional racism. I feel like it's the true naming of things. Sometimes I feel like the fight is so immense for equality and for understanding. Yeah, it's so immense. But then 98% of the time, I feel like we're going, it's the wrong thing. It's the wrong point. It's the wrong intention. Because the real problem is that it's a tradition, like you said. It's so rooted. I can't believe personally, as a nearly 50-year-old woman, that we are not evolving as a culture. I mean, I started in Detroit as a kid in 1972, and I'm like in the perfect, little household with my family who was really supportive and really nice, and my parents were really like, hey, everyone's created equal. Got it? Don't stray from that. Like that type of thing. But all around, it's seeming like there's not even a difference from being in 1972 to today. Not nearly one difference. And it fucking shocks me. And it does, because I really feel like it has to do with that. There's a Native American tradition of the true naming of things. And I feel like that's it. If you're not at the true naming of things, you just go round in circles, right, y'all? So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. In my business now, I've not yet been in the position to invite investors into my business until recently. And I'm looking at the fact that we really are, as a threesome, currently a women-owned, Native American-owned, vet-owned company. And we really are looking to invite people of color to come and take the equity positioning that we are going to be offering in the vertical organization. So for the last year, we've been building a foundation to build a vertical organization. So that's currently what I'm working on. And of course, just trying to constantly be at the faces of my family. I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. So, that family, but then also my outer family, my personal extended family, but my community family too. I'm constantly in people's faces about the engagement and understanding of one another and how important it is and how real. I mean, it's real. People, yes. And maybe in my perspective or in my demographic or in my circles, they have the ability to say, no, it's, really not valid today. And I'm constantly in their faces, ladies. So I guess that's my contribution at this time, creating more space within my company space. And that is also going to extend to on my staff space. And I already have women lined up for my staff space. So anyways, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jana. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for having me. Happy birthday, Tokeativity. I've enjoyed my connections with Canna Moms. Shout out to all you powerhouses. I'm still in the food and cannabis part of everything. But the cannabis space has brought me a lot of the courage to speak up about being practicing racial equity at LeafWire and Sense Media and all the other things I'm involved with. So not do we just change the narrative, but really get uncomfortable and awkward with our conversations, so that way, shout out to Miss Kelly Perez out in Denver with Cannabis doing good. She's actually going to partner with LeafWire and I, and we're going to try to do something for the ladies and everybody else in the social equity brands to really be recognized and have that hyper local focus of those conversations that really need to be embedded, not just right now, but for the future of my child. My child is going to know that Superwoman looks like us. So we are definitely changing the narrative,
Yes.
especially on my end here in California. That is the regular narrative here. It is no longer the buzz. We will tell you, no, that is not how you say it, or this is not how we want you to say it, because that's how we've been feeling for years and years, is feeling like we have to be silenced. And now that I don't feel that way, I feel like organizations like LeafWire and Sensi Media gives me that voice to exercise, just like Tokeativity and these sessions right here. I can't miss out. But now that I had a little break, I had to make sure I made it and meet this wonderful space of encouragement, edification, and building with the women in cannabis. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here and your contribution. It takes all of us to have these conversations and to empower each other to the point where we feel that we are comfortable enough to dictate how we will be addressed and how we will be empowered and what works for us. And as women and as persons of color, we definitely we champion that, and all who take leadership positions in that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Kindness, were you saying something? Because you were on mute and I thought I saw you that you were talking for a second.
I was muting myself. I was yelling at my kids, y'all, It's like, I asked you for 1 hour to monitor the dogs. No. They're lucky I consume copious That's how you balance it, y'all. That's how you balance it. You know, these bridges are so amazing, Tiffany. I want us to go on and on and on because we can. And that was the spirit of Bridges. That's why we started the show. That's why we started the live series, which the 5 episodes are literally about to drop. So you all can visit them soon on the Tokeativity website and watch episodes, how Bridges Courageous Conversations was born. And we are launching the first season as our flagship series on Club Kindness TV, launching April of this year. So you'll get to watch a recut 8-episode series of Bridges. Conversations like this, very powerful conversations about race, equity, diversity, and how we do this right. I'm really excited to have these monthly conversations where we can dig into the nuances of and connect and reconnect and build and get better every time. I'm just always so grateful for you, Tiffany, and that we're building together and the and the bridge building that we're truly doing. I think we were supposed to go back.
Absolutely.
To
We were.
But I was
we were
like,
supposed to go back.
this is too good. So,
But this conversation
That's
got
hilarious.
real juicy, and we kept with it. So I know. So I was like, we're over time, but we're still talking. I know.
That's awesome.
I thank all of you. I am always. Yes. Necessary, courageous conversations. And I am always grateful to have anyone and everyone join us. I'm super grateful for Mskindness. And, she is the brains and the power and the smile behind this whole concept. And we honor her for that. And that's it right there. And we definitely honor her for that. And thanks for those who came to listen. And I hope that you learned a little something about our experiences and the pathway that we navigate. We're all trucking along in the same direction. Let's just keep reaching out to lift each other up. And I hope this knowledge that you learned today helps you do that.